Young hero fixes crying kid's toy, then discovers his father is a millionaire. The sun was setting, painting the sky in roaring oranges and purples when 12-year-old Max stumbled upon a scene that would turn his average day upside down. A little boy, no older than 5, sat on the pavement, his face crumpled in grief, tears streaming down his cheeks. Clutched in his tiny hands was a toy robot, metallic and chipped, but it was broken, a shiny blue arm lying uselessly a few feet away. The cries pierced the evening air, raw and desperate. Max's heart raced, not out of fear, but a fierce urge to help. With a swift decision, Max kneeled beside the boy. "Hey, buddy," he said, his voice soft. "Let me take a look at that." As he examined the robot, a swell of determination surged inside him. Its broken arm reflected sunlight, like a small piece of treasure waiting to be reclaimed. The boy's tiny frame trembled with sadness, making Max's chest tighten. This was more than just a toy. It was a cherished companion, a guardian of childhood dreams. His hands worked deftly, tugging and twisting parts as he overlooked the prickles of dirt under his fingertips. The world around him blurred. The steady sounds of cars zooming past faded into the background. The boy stared wide-eyed, hope flickering in his gaze. Just as Max clicked the arm back into place, a ripple of laughter erupted from nearby. He glanced up, startled, to see a group of teenagers pointing and murmuring. "Look at that loser," one said, voice dripping with mockery. But their jeers faded as the child squealed in delight at the sight of his toy, now triumphantly whole. Suddenly, a shadow loomed over him, casting an uneasy chill. It was a tall man in a tailored suit, slicked back hair shining like his polished shoes. The boy's expression changed, fear replacing joy. The man grabbed the toy from Max's hands and yelled, "What are you doing with my son's robot?" His voice thundered, sending a shockwave through the crowd. The whispers intensified. Who was this man? Max's heart raced. Before he could explain, the man looked at Max with piercing eyes. "You've made a mistake, but perhaps you've done something worthwhile today. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The man's gaze stayed fixed on Max, and a peculiar tension hung in the air. The boy next to Max suddenly beamed, eyes shining brighter than the toy itself, as if he sensed something monumental simmering underneath it all. "My dad's a millionaire," he gleefully shouted, joy bursting from him like a balloon in a crowded room. The crowd gasped, the laughter dissolved into awe, shifting the atmosphere completely. Max felt that familiar tug of wonder mixed with fear, the thrilling sense that he was on the verge of something life-changing. But what could this all mean? Wealth, power, and influence swirled like a storm cloud around them. A million questions clawed at him. Would the man see red for the small act of kindness? Or could this be the start of an unexpected adventure, one that would deepen those boyhood dreams? As the shadows deepened, the man's expression softened ever so slightly, as if contemplating Max's future. Then, he offered the tiniest hint of a smile. And just like that, as if the key had turned in a lock, the real story began to unfold. The air was electric, charged with anticipation as the crowd fell into an uneasy hush. Max felt their eyes boring into him, curiosity mingling with judgment. The man's smile was faint, like a flicker of light in the dark. America was thriving on stories of the underdog, and at that moment, he felt like he could either be the hero or the fool. "What is your name?" the man asked, his voice now a low rumble. "Max," he stammered, feeling small under the man's intense gaze. "Max," the man repeated, running the name through his lips as though tasting it. "You're not in trouble, not unless you want to be." He paused, studying the boy closely as if trying to read every fiber of his being. "I'm Ethan," and this he gestured to the delighted toddler, now snuggling the robot against his chest, "is my son, Tyler." Max felt a rush of relief wash over him, mingling with an undercurrent of dread. What did Ethan want? The friendly facade didn't resonate with his monumental presence. I was just fixing his toy, Max managed. A flare of pride blossomed in Ethan's features. It looks like you did a good job. It's not every day you see a kid take the initiative. He crouched down to meet Tyler's eye level. Why don't you say thank you, buddy? Thank you, Max. Tyler chirped, his enthusiasm infectious. The crowd shifted, whispering among themselves, but Max's focus narrowed to Ethan. Why are you here? You don't need to thank me. I just wanted to help. I know, Ethan replied, his tone heavy with meaning. People like you are a rare breed. He straightened up, towering over Max like a building against the skyline. How would you like to come work for me? Max blinked, grappling with the suggestion. Work? What could he do? Doing what? Ethan chuckled softly, as if sharing a secret. I need a young mind like yours to help with some ideas I have. You see, I run a tech empire. His voice lowered, drawing Max in. And I could use someone to scout new talent. Kids know what kids want. Silence enveloped them, and Max's heart raced. The weight of Ethan's proposition settled like a boulder in his stomach. He looked around. What did that even mean for him? For his friends? What about school? Insecurity crept into his voice, betraying the bravado he had tried to muster. A sort of dark dread loomed over him as he realized the risks. Ethan smiled, as if anticipating this question. Education is important, Max. We can work around that. Think of this as a chance to learn and grow. Max thought of his mom, her tireless work ethic just to make ends meet, and the burden of responsibility that always felt too heavy on his young shoulders. I don't know. Before he could gather his thoughts, Tyler leaped forward, nearly knocking Max over in a hug. You're my hero. The crowd ah-ed in unison, sentiment softening the harsh ambience. Max found himself smiling despite the fear swirling inside him. But the echo of Ethan's dark possibility loomed over them. Was this truly an opportunity, or a trap disguised as one? Come on, think it over. I'll be waiting. Ethan straightened, a renewed confidence in his step as he gestured for Tyler to follow him. But he paused, casting one last look over his shoulder. Change is coming, Max. You might want to get on board before it ships out. The crowd slowly dispersed, leaving Max alone with chaotic thoughts. His heart raced. This was more than just help for a toy. It was an uncharted adventure, a doorway leading into an entirely different realm. But what if he was stepping into a dream that could quickly unravel into a nightmare? As he contemplated his next move, he couldn't shake the feeling that the real journey was just beginning. Upon discovering what price came with such allure, Max stood there, frozen, watching Ethan disappear into the crowd with Tyler at his side. A strange cocktail of hope and fear bubbled within him. What did it mean to work for someone like Ethan? He clenched his fists, still feeling Tyler's little arms around him. The boy's innocent trust, a sweet contrast to the tension that twisted in Max's gut. Hey, did you hear what he said? One of the kids from the crowd piped up, breaking into his thoughts. It was Jason, the neighborhood troublemaker, known for his sharp tongue and quick judgments. You're gonna be some rich guy's mini assistant now? Max shot him a glare, heat creeping into his cheeks. Shut up, Jason. It's not like that. Whatever, man. Don't let that billionaire know where you live, or he might buy your house and kick you out. Wouldn't he want to be a charity case? Max felt a burning anger, but deeper down, it was the truth that scared him. Wasn't he just a kid from a rundown neighborhood? Suddenly, Ethan's offer felt different, more dangerous. The whispers of the crowd faded like echoes in a cave, leaving only the gnawing thought that maybe, just maybe, this was all a mistake. He took a few steps back toward home, the distant sound of laughter from the park filling the increasing silence. But his feet felt heavy, like they were stuck in glue. Would he be a coward for just walking away? Or brave for recognizing that he didn't belong in Ethan's world? A sudden gust of wind swept through, making him shiver. It smelled like rain. It was enough to cut through the veneer of doubt that cloaked him. Max steadied his breath, feeling the pulse of decision drumming against his chest. He needed to know more. Max. It was Mia, his best friend, running towards him, her curly hair bobbing like a wild halo. What happened? We saw the whole thing. You look like you'd just met a ghost. Or maybe an alien. Max shook his head and ran a hand through his hair, trying to sort his feelings. He wants me to work for him. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Mia's eyes widened. That's amazing. You could be like, super famous. Just think of all the tech stuff you could do. But what if it means leaving us behind? Max countered, the lump in his throat growing. What if he just wants to use me? Mia frowned, her brow furrowing in thought. You know the kind of life we have. This might be your chance to change everything. You could finally help your mom. Or I could get trapped in his world, Max replied, clenching his hands into fists. What if I'm just a pawn in his game? As those words hung in the air, an unnerving laughter erupted from nearby. A group of kids, older and louder, were watching them with derision. One of them, a tall boy with a cocky smirk, approached. So, you're the kid who got all chummy with the millionaire? Good luck being his little puppet. He shoved Max's shoulder hard, knocking him slightly off balance. I'm not a puppet, Max snapped back, his voice raising higher than he intended. But beneath the bravado, he felt the sting of that accusation creep into his heart. What was he really standing on? The crowd had thinned, and everyone else's gaze felt like daggers poking into his skin. Go home. Max, don't get ahead of yourself, Jason taunted, moving away. Fame doesn't mean anything if you lose who you are. Those words echoed louder than they'd ever intended. Each statement clanged against Max's brain, resonating with an unexpected clarity. He turned to Mia, tears forming in his eyes. What if I lose everything? Then you fight to get it back, she exclaimed, a fire ignited within her. But at least you'll be a fighter instead of a loser. Max took a deep breath, swallowing down the storm of emotions threatening to spill over. As the sky darkened and raindrops began to fall, he pondered the crossroads before him. The choice was heavy, ripe with consequence, and the only way out seemed to lead deeper into the unknown. A flicker of resolve ignited within, but was it enough to conquer the fear gripping him? Max looked at Mia, his heart pounding. Their eyes locked, and in that moment, he made a decision. I need to talk to Ethan again. I need to know what this is really about. But as he turned toward where Ethan had vanished, a chill ran down his spine, not from the cold, but from the shadows lurking just beyond the light. Shadows that whispered secrets he had yet to uncover. Max took a hesitant step away from the remnants of laughter still hanging in the air. The raindrops began to fall harder now, pattering against the pavement, mixing with the chaos in his mind. His heart raced, not just from fear, but from something else, something deeper, a curiosity that pushed him forward. He glanced back towards Mia, her wide eyes searching his face for reassurance. That spark of determination ignited by her words blazed within him. Maybe he wasn't just some kid from the wrong side of the street. Maybe he could break free of those labels. Hey, wait up, Mia called after him as he took off in the direction Ethan had gone. Each step felt both exhilarating and terrifying, adrenaline surging as he navigated through slick sidewalks and rising puddles. Behind him, Mia's footsteps quickly followed, splashing unceremoniously. Max, are you sure about this? She called, her voice carrying a current of concern. He could be, yeah, I know. But I need to do this, he interrupted, his voice strained with urgency. I have to find out what this really means. The world around him blurred as he raced past storefronts and lampposts, the storm building overhead mirroring his inner turmoil. Ethan had stepped into his life like a sudden storm, disruptive, potent, and loaded with possibility. When Max finally spotted Ethan near a sleek, black car parked along the curb, he felt his breaths quickening again. There was no turning back. This man was everything he had dreamed of becoming. But was he also the embodiment of the nightmares that kept him awake? Ethan looked up as Max approached, eyes narrowing for a brief moment, as if sizing him up. Max, he greeted, a hint of surprise lacing his smooth voice. I didn't expect to see you again so soon. I need to know what you want from me, Max blurted, his words tumbling over themselves in a rush. Am I some kind of project for you? A way to ease your guilty conscience? Ethan's brows lifted slightly, amusement teasing the corners of his mouth. You have a flair for drama. But let me assure you, my interests are purely business-oriented. Business? Max echoed, scorn bleeding into his tone. Is that what you call it? You just want a kid to help you feel good about yourself? A flicker of something like disappointment crossed Ethan's face. You're sharper than most, he said, his voice taking on a serious tone. I see potential in you that others overlook. Working with me could change your life. Max's fists clenched tighter, the weight of the offer crashing against the walls he had built. But what about my life now? I can't just leave everything behind. Change is never easy. Growth often means leaving parts of yourself behind. But think about your family, your dreams. Ethan pressed, leaning in, his eyes intense. You could create something amazing. What if I don't want to be part of your game? Max shot back, the anger and fear veiling his vulnerability. Then you'll walk away, and you'll always wonder what if. Ethan's gaze softened, almost earnest now, like a promise hanging in the air. You have a choice here, Max. One that could define your future. Trust me. Thunder rumbled in the sky, a warning of the impending storm brewing overhead. Just as Max was about to respond, a sudden crash of lightning illuminated the scene, making the moment feel eerie and charged with energy. Max was about to make a decision, but before he could voice his thoughts, a figure emerged from the shadows, a girl, drenched and shivering, her eyes wide with fear. "Help me," she cried, pointing back toward the alley. "They're coming." Ethan's expression changed, turning steely, and he glanced at Max sharply, as if weighing the implications of their situation. "What do you want to do?" he asked, the question ringing out with gravity in that moment. Max felt the air around him shift. The unknown shadows were no longer just ethereal whispers, it was a real threat, pressing in. His heart raced faster. "Help her," he said, the resolve in his voice stronger than ever. But before they could move, footsteps echoed behind them, growing louder, more menacing, and Max felt the weight of his decision bearing down on him. The girl staggered forward, her face pale, eyes wide. "Please," she rasped, panic lacing her voice. "They're right behind me." Max's heart pounded in his chest, a sickening mix of determination and fear. He felt like he was teetering on a tightrope, balancing between two worlds. The life he'd always known, and the one Ethan dangled in front of him like a forbidden fruit. "What do you mean? Who's coming?" Mia asked, her voice trembling slightly as she approached the girl. "They want me back." The girl twisted around, her drenched hair clinging to her neck as she searched the shadows. "I have to keep running. I can't go home." Ethan stepped forward, his presence commanding and overwhelming. "You need to calm down," he said, but there was an edge to his voice that didn't match the calm facade. "Who is chasing you?" They're bad people," the girl stammered, her breath choppy and uneven. "They think I know something. But I don't. I swear." "Then you can come with us," Max declared, surprising even himself. He could feel Mia's gaze on him. This wasn't just some random girl. There was real fear in her eyes, a pain that mirrored his own struggles. He wouldn't turn his back now. "Max, we should go," Mia urged, her tone urgent yet laced with fear. The footsteps grew louder, resonating like a war drum in the downpour. "This isn't safe." Gritting his teeth, he turned to Ethan. "You want me to trust you? Then trust me. We can't leave her." Ethan hesitated, a fleeting look crossing his face. Was it admiration or annoyance? "All right, if you're that determined," he conceded, shifting into action mode. "Get in the car. We can talk about this later." The girl nodded vigorously, her gratitude palpable even through her fear. Max motioned for her to hurry, but the moment felt frozen, like time was dragging its feet. Before they could move, a hollow laugh echoed from the alley. Shadows shifted, forming into figures cloaked in darkness. Max's stomach twisted as they emerged, a trio of ominous silhouettes, each more threatening than the last, eyes glinting with menace. They had found her. "I told you she wouldn't get far," the tallest one sneered, stepping forward, dark leather jacket gleaming in the rain. "Now it's time to come home, kid." Max stepped protectively in front of the girl, fists clenched, his pulse racing. "You want to take her?" Ethan moved, quick and decisive, sidling up next to Max. "We don't want any trouble," he said, his voice low and steady, yet there was an undertone of authority that sent tingles down Max's spine. The leader chuckled again, and the sound sent a shiver down Max's spine. "Oh, there's going to be trouble, kid. You've picked the wrong side." With that, the group moved as one, coiling like snakes to strike. Max had a split second to decide, the world narrowing to a singular option. "Run," he shouted, shoving the girl towards the car. He felt a surge of adrenaline as he followed her, knowing there was no going back now. They sprinted, every footfall heavy, every breath strained as the shadows chased them. But as they reached the car, Ethan yanked open the door. Just before they climbed in, the sound of glass shattering echoed in the storm. Max whipped around, heartsick, as a figure fell to the ground. Mia, he yelled, dread pooling in his stomach. Her body lay sprawled on the pavement, another shadow looming over her. No, Max screamed, an unbearable fear surging as he turned toward Ethan. We have to help her. But Ethan's eyes blazed with something sharper. There's nothing we can do. We need to go now. But Max couldn't move. He felt rooted, horror gripping him. This was real. This was chaos, a world he never asked to step into. And yet, here he was. Just then, the girl seized his arm, her grip shaky but firm. Don't let them take me, she whispered, and in that moment, Max realized his choice was no longer solely about him. As he battled the turmoil inside him, something shifted once more. Was he ready to fight for just any life? Or could he make a stand for this girl and everything she represented? Torn between saving Mia and this newfound mission, he felt the weight of it all collapse onto his shoulders, pressing hard. Then thunder cracked again, louder this time. It hit him the moment had come, and as his decision loomed closer, he felt the air electrify around him. What if he couldn't rescue them all? The rain poured down, wrapping the scene in an insistent curtain of water and obscurity. Max's heart thundered in his chest, a war drum echoing in the chaos. He gazed back at Mia, the world around him blurring into a haze. She needed him, but the girl was pleading. Max, we can't leave her. Her voice sliced through his panic, a lifeline in the storm. But the shadows behind him lurked closer, their intentions dark and foreboding. Get in the car. Ethan barked, his own urgency clashing with Max's turmoil. He felt paralyzed, caught in an impossible decision. One life on the asphalt, and another trembling beside him. No, Max shouted, desperation seeping into his voice like water through a leaky roof. We can't just trust me. Ethan's voice was firm, cutting like the cold rain against their skin. If we don't move, we'll all end up like her. With a thunderous crack overhead, a surge of adrenaline pulsed through Max. He squeezed the girl's arm tight, feeling the rapid thrum of her heartbeat beneath his fingers. They were connected now, bound by fear and urgency. Run, he shouted again, his eyes darting between Mia and the girl. The tallest figure lunged forward, and instinct took over. He shoved the girl towards the car, his body a shield against the dark shapes creeping closer. Go, he urged the girl, pushing her inside the car even as the rain poured heavily, drenching them further. Ethan wasted no time, sliding into the driver's seat. But Max hesitated, glancing back over his shoulder one last time. The shadows loomed ever nearer, their faces twisted into expressions of malice. They were almost there. Mia, he called out, willing her to respond. But the silence that hung heavy in the air felt like the weight of 1,000 chains. Then, the night erupted. The leader lunged, a blade glinting in his hand, but Ethan reacted, thrusting the car into reverse with a screech. Tires skidded on the wet surface as Max felt the surge of movement jolt through him. Hold on, Ethan shouted, his grip firm on the wheel as they peeled out of the parking lot. The girl gasped, gripping the dashboard as they sped away. I didn't mean to get you involved. I can't put you in danger. Her voice was frantic, and for a moment, guilt washed over Max. You didn't but they'll stay on you. They'll find you. Ethan glanced back, dark eyes flaring. We'll figure it out. Just breathe. The shadows faded behind them, swallowed by distance as Max's heartbeat started to dull. They were safe for now, but a tension still coiled in his gut. Danger lurked at every corner, and he could feel it like a phantom weight pressing on his chest. Who were they? Max asked, voice laced with a mix of fear and anger. Why do they want you? I don't really know, she stammered, casting her gaze to the window, watching the world whip past. They think I have information about something. Something dangerous. What could be so important? Max couldn't help but ask. Was this girl connected to some bigger threat? The storm outside felt suddenly like a reflection of growing chaos within. Ethan slowed the car, the rain pounding against the steel roof like 1,000 frightened hearts. We need a plan, he said, tension creeping into his tone. We also need to disappear. The girl turned towards him, eyes filled with a mix of gratitude and fear. Thank you for saving me. But Max rocked back in his seat, still haunted by the face of Mia lying on the pavement. The scream still echoed in his ears, reverberating around him. He bit his lip, a lump forming in his throat. We We still need a way to help Mia, he murmured, the ache piercing through his heart like icy daggers. We can't just let her go. The girl suddenly froze beside him, eyes widening in fear and realization. If they're after me, they might go after her too. They can't find her. Ethan's jaw tightened as he drove. We'll find a way to reach her. But right now, the safe choice is to keep moving. Max stared into the dark, the weight of the decision heavy. If risking it all meant saving Mia, how far would he go? His resolve began to harden, but in the swirling storm of emotions, the question remained. Could he act fast enough to save the one who mattered? The city lights flickered in the downpour, smeared by raindrops that painted ghostly streaks across the windshield. Each passing second felt like an eternity, and the reality of their situation gnawed at Max. He couldn't shake the image of Mia's face from his mind, frozen in terror. Ethan, we need to go back, he said, voice low and heavy. We can't leave her. I can't, you'll get us killed. Ethan shot back, his voice sharp. We don't even know who those guys are, or what they want. We can't risk it. The tension in the car was thick enough to slice, wrapping them all in a cloud of fear and uncertainty. The girl flinched at Ethan's outburst, but Max was too absorbed in his own turmoil to notice. She needs us. He pressed, fists clenching in his lap as panic surged again. The memory of the blade flashing in the rain sent chills down his spine. The girl he still didn't know her name turned slowly. If they're after me, then you need to protect yourselves. They could know where you live. They'll follow you. Max's mind raced. She was right. They were officially in way over their heads. The realization twisted in his gut like a knife. So what do we do? He demanded, his voice more urgent than before. We can't just run forever. I have a place, she whispered, glancing cautiously out the window, as if the shadows were following them still. A friend who can help. But we have to hurry. Ethan nodded, shifting gears. Where? Take a left at the next street, she instructed, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. The car veered off the main road and onto a quieter, darker street. Rain blurred the outlines of the buildings, turning the whole world into a shadowy mystery. Max felt the weight of the girl's presence beside him, a fragile creature caught in a storm, just like him. Do you think they saw you? Max asked, his heart racing. I don't know, she admitted, biting her lip. They've been watching me for a while, but I thought I could lose them. I didn't think anyone would help. Ethan narrowed his eyes, focusing intently on the road. Just tell us where to go. We'll figure it out. Max leaned closer as the girl pointed ahead, her voice barely rising above the rain. Turn here, and then another right. The streetlights flickered as they took the turns, and suddenly, a single thought flashed in Max's mind. What if Mia didn't matter to them? What if they were just a distraction? With a lurch, they turned down a dim alley. It felt wrong, unsettling. The air turned thicker, heavy with something unnameable. The girl's fingers trembled as she pointed again. This is it. She gestured toward a nondescript door at the end of the alley. Ethan parked, but the engine was still running. What if this is a trap? He whispered, glancing back at Max and the girl. They won't expect us to come here, she assured them, her voice wavering slightly. We just need to hope. Max glanced back at the alleyway. It was quiet now, but silence hung with foreboding. What if we're walking into their hands? With a flicker of movement, shadows passed at the alley's entrance, making Max's heart drop. Ethan, we have to. Just then, the door swung open. A man tall and shadowy stood silhouetted against the light behind him. Relief washed over Max until he noticed the threat radiating from the figure, eyes scanning the rain-soaked car with slow, predatory precision. Get out, the man commanded, and his voice was cold, final. Panic surged in Max's chest. What do we do? He hissed to the girl. I don't know, she breathed, terror filling her eyes as the man stepped closer. Now, he barked, taking a step forward. Heart racing, Max felt the weight of decisions crashing down on him. Was this their refuge or their doom? With adrenaline coursing through him, he glanced at Ethan and then at the girl. We need to fight, he whispered urgently, hiding their fear behind a mask of determination, but deep down, a chill spread through him. The boy who was supposed to save someone was on the brink of unraveling. A new battle was looming, and he wasn't sure they would all make it through. What if this time we can't escape? He thought, staring at the door once more. Just then, a shout erupted from behind them, and the shadows closed in. The shadows danced as the shout echoed, underscoring the urgency of the moment. Max's heart raced, pounding like a drum in his ears as he whipped around to face the alley's entrance. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, he could barely focus on anything but the sharp edges of fear closing in on them. "Get out now." The man barked again, his voice cold and abrupt as he stepped forward, invading their space. His eyes glinted with a dangerous intensity that sent a shiver down Max's spine. "Max," Ethan hissed, gripping the steering wheel tightly, his knuckles white. "We can't wait. We've got to move." "Right." Max swallowed hard, trying to breathe through the panic rising like bile. He could feel the girl's fear alongside his own, palpable and sharp. "Stay close to me," he ordered, his voice steadier than he felt. Suddenly, from the depths of the alleyway, a second figure emerged, tall and imposing, flanked by two other men. It dawned on Max. They were surrounded. The dread that filled his stomach began to churn violently. "Get out," the first man repeated, this time with an edge of impatience, raising his hand as if to beckon them forward. "We're not here to play games." "Why are you doing this?" The girl's voice trembled but carried defiance. "What do you want from us?" Max felt her fear like a hot brand, intensifying his own resolve. He didn't know the girl, but her bravery in the face of danger stirred something deep inside him. "If you want to see the girl live, you'd best come with us," he replied, smirking slightly, as though his confidence could shift the balance. The man studied them, a calculating glint in his eye. "Smart choice," he said slowly, "but you're already in over your head." Ethan's resolve crumbled. "Max, this isn't the time to be a hero." But Max couldn't help it. He wasn't just going to stand and let fear dictate his every move. "You don't know us," he shot back. "You don't know what we're capable of." Without warning, the second man lunged forward, his hand grasping for the girl as though he planned to whisk her away. Max's instincts flared. He surged forward, pushing the girl behind him just as Ethan flung the car door open, ready to give both an exit and a path of retaliation. In that split second, the alley erupted into chaos. The girl screamed, and Max felt the world slow as he collided with the approaching threat. The impact sent him to the ground, the wet pavement biting into his skin. "Max!" Ethan shouted, his voice rising above the cacophony as he tackled the second man, a flurry of fists and aggression erupting between them. The girl stood, frozen in shock, her eyes wide and reflective of the turmoil surrounding them. Max could feel the room around him spinning a vortex of adrenaline, fear, and desperation. "Go," he cried, his voice hoarse as he struggled to push the weight off him. But she didn't move. The small flash of terror that flickered across her face ignited something in him. "You can't let them take you." Just then, a crack of thunder boomed overhead, and the rain fell harder, pouring down like sheets, washing away the filth of the confrontation. The scene shifted snarls of anger, bodies grappling, but all Max could focus on was the girl. Ethan pinned the man to the ground, fists flying, fueled by fear and anger. Max scrambled to his feet, adrenaline coursing through him, and lunged to help, but a sudden shout froze him in place. "Look out!" It was the girl, panic amplifying in her voice. Max's heart dropped as he instinctively turned just in time to see shadowy figures emerging from the depths of the alley, their intentions clear, their eyes filled with vengeance. In that moment, everything changed. This wasn't just about saving the girl anymore. It was about survival. With the night's chaos swirling around them, Max realized they were caught in something much larger, and the stakes were higher than anyone could have imagined. "Run!" he shouted, urgency spilling into his voice as he grabbed the girl's hand, pulling her toward the unrelenting storm that had turned their world upside down. As they stumbled out of the alley, he glanced back one last time, taking in the fierce fight unfolding, uncertainty creeping into his mind. What if escaping wasn't enough? The rain blurred their escape, but as they reached the mouth of the alley, another thought broke through, a bone-chilling realization of just how many enemies they had now. "Who were those people?" the girl whispered, her voice trembling. I don't know," Max replied, shaken but resolute. "But we have to find a way to stop them." As they dashed into the night, dread hung in the air heavier than the rain. They were on the run now, but from who? And to what end? The answers hung in the distance, shrouded in shadows, and just as they rounded the corner, The sound of footsteps echoed ominously behind them. Their breaths ragged, Max and the girl sprinted down the slick sidewalk, the cool rain stinging their faces. Behind them, the echoing footsteps thundered like a heartbeat, persistent and merciless. Max's grip on her hand tightened, a silent vow to keep her safe, pushing him forward. "Where are we going?" she gasped, glancing back, terror etched across her features. "I don't know," he admitted, panic surging within him. The streets blurred into a canvas of dark shapes and glittering puddles, illuminated only by the flickering street lamps overhead. Yet the sense of pursuit gave him focus. "Just keep running." Suddenly, a scream pierced through the roar of the rain, sharp and chilling. It sent a fresh wave of dread rippling through Max, freezing his blood. He hesitated, scanning the sides of the street, wild-eyed and desperate. "Did you hear that?" The girl nodded, her breath coming in quick, shallow gasps. "It's coming from back there." She pointed, her instincts kicking in despite the fear. Heart pounding, Max pulled her toward the sound. He had no idea where they were headed, but a deep-rooted feeling clawed at him. They had to help whoever was in danger. It wouldn't be long before those men chased them down, and they couldn't abandon someone else in jeopardy. As they approached a narrow alley that branched off the main street, a flash of movement caught Max's eye. Shadows flickered behind rows of dumpsters and crates. The scream cut abruptly, replaced by harsh whispers. "Stay behind me," he whispered, nudging her to conceal herself in the shadows, even though his stomach twisted in knots. They edged closer, the rain washing away the fear of confrontation. Max pressed his back against the cool brick wall. Peeking out, 3 figures loomed over a fourth smaller, crumpled on the ground. "Shut up, kid," one of the men growled, towering over the boy, who was no more than 12. Max's gut reacted violently. The mood shifted sharply in his chest as the boy raised his head, revealing tear-streaked cheeks and wide, fearful eyes. "Please, just let me go." That plea ignited something in Max. "We need to help him," he whispered urgently to the girl. "We can't leave him." She bit her lip, doubt swimming in her gaze. "But what if you want to live with yourself knowing you just ran away?" He interrupted harshly, feeling the weight of fear and bravery battling within him. Before he could second-guess himself, he took a breath and shouted, "Hey, let him go." The 3 men turned, surprise swiftly morphing into anger as they perused the alley for the source of the shout. Max took a step forward, adrenaline pumping, every survival instinct urging him to back down, but he couldn't. "Who the hell are you?" one of the men barked, his eyes narrowing. "Someone who once let you hurt him," Max replied, his voice shaking but bold. Looking to the girl, he said, "Go, warn Ethan." He'd just seen her stunned. She had to trust him to bolster their chances. "No, I can help." She reached for him, her expression firm. "Now," he insisted, his heart cracking with the weight of their situation. The girl hesitated, glancing back at Max, worry threading through her brow. With the men closing in, Max shouted, "Run." At that moment, an explosive cry erupted from the alley, the boy's desperate scream sending shivers down both their spines. It was like a match lighting a fire. The girl bolted, adrenaline carrying her as she dashed away. But Max stayed, heart racing. He charged forward into the fray, every muscle screaming against the body's fight-or-flight response. Grabbing an empty soda can from the ground, he hurled it at their heads, and they turned, bewildered just for a second. "Go. Help him." He was just a kid, hurling a symbol of hope. Yet, here he was, choosing to stand defiant against those shadows, an absurd but unyielding act of courage. As he tackled the nearest man, the boy and the girl could slip away. Max knew he wouldn't get out of this unscathed. But if it meant saving someone, any sacrifice felt worth it. With fists flying and desperation pressing down on him, Max realized the storm of hardship was only beginning. What would it take to unearth the truth hidden deeper within these shadows? And would he have the strength to face what lay beyond? As chaos swirled around him, Max felt a surge of adrenaline. Time felt ethereal, like a surreal dream where every punch he threw and every shove he made felt amplified, each moment stretching, unfolding infinitely like the night skies above him. He barely registered the sharp measure of pain as his fist connected with the first man, fueled by sheer instinct rather than a coherent plan. "Hey!" the second thug roared, eyes wild with rage. Max barely ducked just in time as the man swung back at him. He stumbled, but regained his footing, firm in his resolve. He couldn't let fear drape over him. The boy on the ground, he needed help. As the rain smeared everything in a hazy illusion, Max caught a glimpse of the boy's terrified eyes staring back at him. It was a reflection of his own fear and fury, igniting Max to fight harder against the looming shadows that he charged at the closest man, launching forward with a ferocity that existed deep within every fiber of his being. "Get away from him!" he yelled, but amidst the noise, it came out hoarse and ragged. Fury propelled him, and he managed to land another punch before another figure lurked into view, joining the fray with sinister confidence. Before Max knew it, he felt an arm lash out against his side, sending him sprawling onto the pavement, breath knocked from his lungs. "You can't win, kid," the first thug growled, a twisted smile forming on his face. Darkness clawed at the edges of Max's vision, and with the bitter taste of helplessness pooling within him, he fought against the weight bearing down on his chest. In a flash, the boy he sought to save sprang to life, shaking him back to the present. "Please, help me," he cried, scrambling away from the men and from Max. But the figures towering over them surged, the vile shadows lurking in the rain. "Stop!" Max grunted, dragging himself upright, adrenaline coursing through him as a surge of protectiveness roared within. "Get away from him!" But his voice came out weaker now, rattling with sheer exhaustion. Then, like a beacon through the gloom, relief flickered at the alley's mouth. The girl re-emerged, determination edging out the fear across her features. "I'm back," she shouted, brandishing a nearby trash can lid like a shield. "Get away from him!" With a fierce glint in her eye, she raced inside the fray, catching the attackers off guard. What the one of the men spat, shifting focus toward her as she advanced with surprising fierceness. Max couldn't help but smile fleetingly. There was strength within her that echoed with his own. The boys had become more than just shadows, they were fighting for one another. And in that moment, amidst the showers of rain, he could feel hope flickering. They may be just kids from the streets, but against the oncoming tide of threats, they become a team, a coalition fueled not only by courage, but by a shared fight against something bigger than each of them. But just as triumph felt close, suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. Ethan crashed in like a whirlwind, arms flying as he pulled the girl from harm's way. "Move!" he yelled, crashing into one thug with pure unbridled force, sending him sprawling. Max's heart surged at the sight of Ethan jumping with raw energy, wielding his own fears like weapons against those looming shadows. Max found his footing, the boy standing beside him, fear still present, but now diluted by determination. Together, they couldn't lose. They tether their spirits in this battleground, battling not only for their lives but for one another amidst the deluge. Ethan's focus, relentless and fervent, pushed back the attackers inch by inch. Max felt his energy surge, every punch, every movement amplifying his will to survive. It was now or never. He dove forward, fists swinging with newfound confidence as they rallied together. "Let us get them," the girl shouted, and the fire behind her words tangled with the raindrops surrounding them, setting a fierce warmth ablaze among the cold. But just as they surged forward, the shadows scattered like frantic whispers. The thugs began retreating, piecing themselves back together, grumbles of anger rumbling through the alley. "This isn't over, kids," one shouted, but the fear in his voice was unmistakable. With surprise, Max witnessed the confidence grow within him as if they were declaring this victory their own. "Yeah, go home," he cried, heart pounding as he felt the weight of triumph wash over him. Each of them stood tall together, droplets cascading down in sheets, but somehow, it felt like their own fear had started to wash away as the last of the dark figures disappeared into the shadows. Silence filled the alley, thick like fog. Max turned toward the trembling boy beside him who beamed, his gratitude palpable. Ethan straightened, catching his breath, pride blossoming on his face. "Thank you," the boy exclaimed, eyes shining. "Let us get out of here." Ethan rushed on, urgency blending with residual adrenaline as they stepped into the still crying rain. The weight of battle still lingered, but an alliance had been forged, unbreakable amid uncertainty. Max's chest tightened, heart pounding in rhythm with a promise echoing within him. The fight wasn't just for survival, it was a rallying cry for belonging. Together, Max breathed, glancing at the girl beside him. Together, we can face anything. Ethan nodded, feeling the strength of solidarity swelling inside them. Let us keep moving. And with a fierce sense of unity, they stepped into the future they had fought so hard to reclaim, ready to face whatever came next, knowing that in the shadows, they found their light. As the dark sky began to splinter with dawn, this was not an ending, but a triumphant beginning. Now it was time to forge ahead, hand in hand, as heroes planted in a brand new world. But wait, before you leave this exhilarating journey behind, this is the moment to support the channel. Hit that biggest subscribe button immediately to make sure you don't miss the next exclusive stories waiting just for you. And don't forget to smash that like button now. Your support fuels the algorithm, and it only takes a second. Flood the comments section. Your reactions and theories about this thrilling conclusion are what make this community so amazing. Let us get talking. Finally, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see this finale. This is your chance to be part of something bigger than yourself. You need to subscribe now.